Today I'm looking at A Slow Ride to India by John Randle, published by him in 2017 at the Whittington Press. This is one of 230 standard copies of the book from a total limitation of 275 copies. And the book comes in this slipcase in this mustard yellow or orange linen cloth which has a fairly fine weave. The slipcase feels nice and solidly made, quite sturdy, and a little bit unusually for a Whittington Press edition. On this occasion the slipcase has been lined with this brown suede-like material which feels nice and soft to the touch and will be nice and gentle on the book too. Inside is the volume. It is half bound in that same orangey yellow cloth, and then the front board has been covered with this paper which has this vibrant design of some birds on it. This design was not printed on a press in the standard fashion, but rather was produced by hand through a process known as pochoir by Peter Allen. That means that this design was made by applying the pigments directly to the paper through a series of stencils, and you can see in fact that Allen has initialed the work in pencil here in the bottom right hand corner. On the spine of the book is a title label with the title simply printed in orange. We have these russet end bands. Lastly, if we look over on the reverse of the book, that is covered simply in this plain russet coloured paper. Now, opening the book, we have end papers that have that same russet coloured paper, and laid in here inside this is just a standard piece of advertisement by the press. But then as part of this edition, we have this sheet of paper which has an index of the photographs that appear in the book, and that's intended to be a useful reference for readers as they make their way through the book. Turning past the end papers, we arrive at the title spread. Here we see the title, Slow Ride to India, printed in orange, so the title page has two colour printing, and directly below that we see an explanation of what this book is about. So it's 128 photographs taken during an overland journey to India in 1968. So Randle departed from London, first by train to Eastern Europe, and then made his way across East Europe and West Asia to India, and documented that in around 3,000 photographs that he took on an old 35mm film camera, and this book collects a selection of those photographs. It says 128, but there are a couple of additional ones, including this frontispiece. So by my account, it's more like 130. The title page design is classic Whittington, and the main additional thing to remark on is that the face here is called Cochin, and to me this always looked like quite a playful, cheerful face, and I think it's appropriate to see that title printed in bright orange. It seems to fit the face quite well. Over here, by way of a frontispiece, we have our first photograph. It's been tipped onto the paper, and I'll comment more on the images in just a moment. The paper here is a Hahnemuller mould-made paper. It is off-white in colour and maybe even has a very slight orange coloration about it. It has a very nice texture and a very nice tactile quality that feels a little bit humble and honest, without it all feeling unpleasant. So a very nice paper indeed. And then just before we get into the book proper, we see the first of a couple of line drawings that have been made by Miriam McGregor to complement the edition. We open with an introduction written by John Randle, which gives an account of what the journey was about and how this particular edition emerged as a consequence of that journey some half a century later. And then we get a more substantial piece of text which gives a narrative itinerary of the journey, and as we go through that itinerary we encounter these numbers which refer to the photos, and so this text also serves as the caption essentially for the photographs, so we can come back here and understand what it is that's going on in the images that we saw. So only a few pages of text in this edition. It's primarily a book of photographs, but as I said, that text is printed in a nice face and particularly on a very nice paper. This Hahnemuller paper is just lovely. There's the second of those line drawings by McGregor, and then we go straight into the photographs. The photographs have been printed digitally on a paper called Fedrigoni Tintoretto. This is a paper that has the appearance of a matte photo paper, and it's taken the digital printing, I think, really quite nicely. So as we leaf through, we can see that the images are printed with good contrast. The blacks are nice and deep, the whites remain clear, and altogether the printing and papering combination give, I think, a relatively convincing simulation of photographs that come from original darkroom prints. So although photo books are not the thing that Whittington is most well known for, they've done a very good job of finding a printer capable of reproducing these images in a very nice fashion. Most of the images are reproduced at a size of 12 inches by 10 inches, which was the size in which the original darkroom prints were made by Randle shortly after he returned from the trip. And the book itself measures a generous 12 inches by 12 inches. So as you can see, a square volume. And the rest of the book continues in this fashion. So we leaf through, we see the photographs as we move from Eastern Europe, ultimately into India. It's quite striking to see the social scenes in many of these photographs. Some of them look almost like they could have been taken a century or more ago, with very little signs of technology having reached the areas in question. And then we end with this epilogue. There's a brief poem, and here's a photograph of a young John Randle at the YMCA in Delhi. As usual, there's a colophon page at the end of the edition, which gives information about the limitation and production details. So there's not too much more to say about this edition. In one way, it's a relatively simple book, being primarily a book of photographs, but still one, I think, that shows Whittington's prowess in the arts of book design. So there are a number of nice features here. I like the cheerful original artwork by Peter Allen here on the front board. The paper, that Hahnemühle paper, was just delightful. The photographic reproduction, as I said, was very good, and it felt a little bit different to looking at one of these modern coffee table style photo books. This felt really like they had done a good job of giving one the sensation of looking through a stack of original darkroom prints, which I quite appreciated. And the photographs themselves make for an interesting historic document of a way of life that I guess doesn't really exist anymore. So altogether, another nice edition from Whittington. Right before I finish the video, perhaps we could also take a quick look at the prospectus for this edition, which came laid in to my copy. So here we have a bit of a descriptive text of what the book is about. It's printed on that lovely Hahnemühle paper. Here is a sample page drawn from that itinerary we saw at the beginning of the book. And we have a few examples of the photographs that are bound by thread into this prospectus, another sample page, and then here details about the edition on the rear page. So a nice bit of ephemera there to have alongside the book.